Okay, so last week we went over Access. Last week we went over Access. We learned to make some data in it, and then also wound up making a couple of reports, queries, forms, sort of fun stuff, basically just dipping your toes in it. This week we're going to go further, and the first thing we're going to do, well, first off, let's just make a blank database here. First thing we're going to wind up doing is we're going to go into, so before we used home and create, we're going to go into the external database this time because we need to get more stuff. So new data source, we have, from file, from database, basically all the different places we can wind up finding it. We can find, from an online server if we really wanted to, for those of you that are hooked into an online service. So I'm going to take a database, and I'm going to take a, nope, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to go from file. I'm going to take something from Excel. Now, and we're just going to, put stuff together. So, first things first, let's learn how to import something. So, we're going to go into Excel or whatever, and it's going to go, ooh, what am I grabbing? All this sort of stuff. What is all this information? That's a lot of text here. So, first and foremost, what's the file name? So let's find the file. Now, I'll have to find where I put this. So let's see here. This PC documents. Where's my desktop? There's my desktop. I know I had it on my desktop. 151. 2018, access parts. Let's just say there's my import data. So I'll hit open. There we go. So now it found the path, all the fun stuff it found. Now there's going to be a couple of options here. Do I want to import the source data into a new table? Do I want to simply append the records of an existing table? So for example, do you just want to take this data and put it on an existing table? Or do you want to just create a data source link? In this situation, I'm just going to make an entirely new table. I'll make a new table in the database, and I'll hit OK. Now it's going to ask me a couple of things here. It's going to go and say, hey, worksheet, showed range name, so on and so forth. Is this all the data that is correct? Is this what you wanted to add in? Why, yes, that is. So that's what I wanted. Hit next. Now it's going to ask me a question. Is the first row my column headings? So basically, is student ID a field? Is first name a field? Is gender a field? Is city a field? So on and so forth. So when I click this, yes. Oh, look, now it's a field. See, it's not a data point. And I'll show you the two different ways of how this will work. So for example, you see right here, student ID, first name, last name, gender, address, city, so on and so forth. All that sort of fun stuff. That's all. By the way, these are all fake people, so you don't have to worry about, anyone's email address or phone number. Anything with a 555, it doesn't really exist. So all this information is, categories. Like my categories are right here. So I'll hit next, and then it's going to ask me, oh, what type of information do I want? So is student ID, is that a double? Is this a integer? Is this a long integer? Is this a currency? You can go in and click whatever type of area you are, like state region. Is that a short text? Is it a short text? Is this a number, or is this a text? What type of field is this? I don't know. Maybe it's a short text. Yay, it's now a short text. Maybe this guy right here. Actually, is there any other numbers? Yeah, let's see. We can change this. Now it's instead of being a double, we can make this an integer, or we can make this a currency, or we can make this a single. I'm just gonna keep it as a double though for whatever. Maybe some of these were meant to be links. Like, look, these have a .edu or whatever. Maybe these were meant to be, an actual hyperlink, because you can hyperlink to a web, to an email. Maybe these were meant to be hyperlinks. Let's click hyperlink and find out. index, no, so on and so forth. And you can even say, don't import this field. Maybe we want to skip it. Maybe you want to skip college email altogether. Fine, why not? And we'll hit next. And now it's going to say, oh, primary keys. So you can have Access add its own primary key. You can choose no primary key, or you can choose your own primary key. It'll automatically default to the leftmost column, but maybe we want address to be our primary key. But of course, is it possible for two students to live at the same address? Probably. Is it possible for two students to live in the same state? Why, yeah, I see a lot of VA here. Is it possible for them to have the same first name? Yeah, it's possible. So student ID, though, there's only one student with the same student ID, right? So, yeah, chances are, I'll make student ID my primary key here, and I'll hit, next. And then it's going to say, what would I like to name this table? Oh, sure, I'll name it student athletes, why not? And I'll hit finish. And of course, if I want to, I can save these import steps and make this as a custom preference to automatically do this every single time. But I'm not going to do that. And I'll hit close. There we go. And now if I look up here, student athletes, double click it, it's already all inside what I need it to be. So there will be, for the assignment that you'll be making today in class, you'll wind up seeing, you'll wind up having to import two things. And you might have to change some data around or whatnot, but as you can see, we even skipped the email address as we told it to. And this is, our primary key. If I go in here into my home file, hit view, you'll notice the key is right there with student ID. It didn't automatically make an auto number. And it's a short text because I told it to be a short text. And when before it was a number. So you can change things around however it is when you import stuff. Now I'm just going to import this again and show you just a slight difference. So create, and I'll go into external data, new data source from file, Excel, and I'm going to go and find the same thing. I'll go with import data, open, and once again import new data, okay, and this time I'll hit next. This time I'm not going to hit first row contains column headings, and this time I'll leave it as that, and this time I'll let Access add my primary key, and I'll name this the no changes import, why not, and finish, and close. So now I have my, now you see there's even an error list right here. You see this little thing that pops up that says error, import errors? That probably means something happened. So what specifically happened? Well, first off, field 1 said something like student ID, but student ID doesn't coexist with all these numbers. So what's happening is it's saying, this doesn't work with all this. I need them to all be one thing. So it decided, in its infinite wisdom, to just simply delete the word student ID. You'll also notice that all my fields say field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, field 5, field 6, because I did not check that thing that said my first row contained column headings. So this last name, this gender, this address, this first name, this city, region, state, all that sort of fun stuff, all of them are now data points. They're now part of this. And I also have this ID where it made my auto number to make sure that everything was the same because I never chose a primary key for myself. And of course, I told it not to skip college, so college is now there. Oh, and look at that, field 8, once again a situation of the numbers aren't matching up with the text, so the program in its infinite wisdom decided to delete the text. So as you can see, the difference between student athletes versus the no changes import. You can see just by simply looking back and forth, without even going into too much detail, there's changes that you see that are different. And of course, I double-click the error report. Oh, look, it was a type conversion in field F1 and field F8, field and row 1, which of course, field 1, row 1, and of course, field 8, row 1. Those were the error points that it was trying to tell me about. So yes, if you do something wrong, an error report will pop up, and it will wind up telling you what it is you did wrong. So don't panic. Just, if something happens, you could either, go in and physically change this. Like I could simply, if I really want to, I could simply, just delete this entire row right here and then just rename my fields manually if I had to. Like, oh, I'll rename this field, and this field was, student ID. And this field, this name was field, this was, field first name. And of course I can, just simply go under, oops, not file, fields, table. Where is the delete? Home is under the delete. There it is, delete. And I can delete that entire record, and boom, now that's all gone, and I would just have to, rename my entire fields all over again. And of course, if I need to, I can, go into the view here. I can go primary key, change it back to student ID being my primary key, save, yes. And then, of course, I can simply delete that entire column as well. Boom. And we can get ourselves back to where we need to be. So it's not the end of the world if you have errors. It's just a matter of knowing how to fix them. But do it correctly the first time so you don't have to correct it. It's generally, rule of thumb, Would you like it to get done correctly the first time, or would you like to spend the next, 30 minutes fiddling around trying to fix it? So just get in the habit of importing stuff and importing stuff correctly. It'll go through all the list of options of what you can change and what options you might want to do while importing it. So first and foremost, we're going to need to import stuff. After that, I'm going to go into, in the next video, I'm going to go into making a relationship table.